Let's see what happens to the Gulf.
Yeah.
Where the Mississippi pours in. There's some aerial photos of the algae bloom that goes out. It coincides with, all the runoff coming from
Pesticides and junk coming from the Mississippi River. Let alone that Gulf spill we had there.
Yeah, BP. And everything has its own microbiome. The soil has a microbiome. Not just our gut, but our eyes, our skin. Everything finds its own unique environment. In the same in the whether it's the water or the streams, and the ecosystem is a very fragile balance. And we don't seem to be learning. As we keep introducing new things and more chemicals, that we are, living on this planet, we're connected to this planet. We hurt the planet, we hurt ourselves, and there's always a side effect. So this is just, reminding us, this is on 3 sides of our property, very similar activity going on, all the spraying. This is the picture on the other side of the property, all the trees roped off with these, flyers on it that say, do not enter. And it occurred to me, I never saw any guys with little masks and suits spraying the forest. They drop it from the air. So some of the terminology. Okay, glyphosate is actually one of the ingredients in Roundup, but it is the active ingredient. Roundup has been shown to actually be more dangerous because it has other substances, inerts and surfactants. And the reason it's more dangerous is because the body has a harder time getting rid of it. You'll hear the Shikimate Pathway brought up. This is, you remember the example we had about PG&E going into the town and saying the half-truth, chromium is good for you. Well, this is what the agricultural department, by way of the co-ops and the extension service, has done to all the farmers. They come in and say, look, we've tested Roundup, it doesn't hurt human cells. So they took Roundup, they put it on a petri dish of human cells, and they said, look, it doesn't hurt it. Well, it's true. Roundup does not hurt human cells when it's poured on it, but it kills the bacteria in your gut. And guess what? We need the bacteria in our gut to have an immune system. So it doesn't hurt our cells, but it kills our immune system. So that's the half-truth. They didn't finish the statement.
You say you don't watch TV anymore. I was watching TV several times. I was watching it. One channel has got lawsuits against Roundup. Next channel is they're selling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go to Home Depot or Lowe's, there's just racks of that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When Home Depot stopped carrying Roundup.
They still got it. Just loads of it.
I'm sure they've got a backlog of stuff that's not expired. But when you talk to the individuals, because we have the guy that sprays our country road, and what you'll notice in the Northwest is the trees alongside the roadsides are all dead. I mean, they're all rusted. And you'll see the rest of the forest. Well, it doesn't look rusted, but all the trees along the road, so they spray 2,4-D. And the individual that sprays, actually, we met him. He was going to the church we attended, and he mentioned that he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And Ken was like, well, you do know that it's connected. He goes, oh, no, I went to my doctor, and I asked him if my cancer has anything to do with my occupation, and he said no. And then we're like, well, you do know that there's big lawsuits that they're winning in California. Oh, those lawyers, they'll say anything. You can't believe what you hear.
Sounds like all the people we know.
Now, chelate, that's a Greek word that means claw. And that's something, that chelates is something that'll grab it up or hold on to it. And that's what glyphosate does in the soils. It binds up the minerals. So not only are you getting toxic food or genetically modified food, you're also getting less nutritious food. That's a problem.
That's the reason the supplement industry is so big, is because everybody is taking supplements because their food no longer gives them what they need.
Yes. But I can see the day we're going to have to insist on all these supplement companies testing for glyphosate in their supplements too. I think that's going to be mandated. And an antibiotic, of course, means anti-life or against life. People forget that glyphosate is approved by the FDA as an antibiotic. And that's what it does in the soil too. If it binds up these minerals, that are necessary for plants to actually, the plants to survive, it binds up the same minerals that our organisms, that bacteria need to survive as well. So here we are with these, look for the red flags. Are there people and money conflicts and all this? So, and again, I mentioned University of Idaho is a land grant university. So of course, none of all of the departments there are ever going to do a thesis or a project, anything to say against big ag, i.e. Monsanto. So it's very biased coming out of there. Their laboratories, all of the well waters, you have a well done, you send it all to the university to test it, but guess what? Glyphosate's not on the list to test for. So they protect these corporations that fund their research. We received a rural newsletter that's just mailed out to everybody warning us about these activists that are, saying things about glyphosate and Roundup. And if you hear them saying stuff, they could be arrested if they don't have peer-reviewed third-party research to back up what they're saying. Well, unfortunately, we're never going to have that because you'd need a multi-billion-dollar industry to come up with those studies. But they don't have it either. But they can request it from us. So
this goes back to your original question earlier on tonight. Why are they doing this? And I said, I'll read it up. So how did this stuff just all of a sudden?
It hasn't been all of a sudden. It's been going on for a long time and slowly building, getting worse.
What is this supposed to? What are they created for in the first place? What, to higher yields? To kill the insects? What are they doing it for?
Well, when you look,
start an African.
Well, that's some of the marketing that they use, but it comes down to, I think, two things. One, our grandparents and then our parents fell asleep. They weren't listening. They weren't actively asking the questions. They weren't going toe to toe. They were just, oh, I trust you. I trust you. I trust the government. I trust my doctor. I trust the extension office.
Yeah,
well, but that's what they taught them to say. Yes. Is that your government and your doctor is the people that you should be trusting.
Yes. And then the other thing is just growth. Economic growth is based on new and better technology and science. Look at every one of your universities. The big thing in the 80s, biotechnology. We need funding for our biotechnology science department. So if you have a biotech department, where are you going to get your funding? What research are you going to do? What are all the hottest? Of course, who's paying the money? Big ag, big pharma, big food. They're the ones with the money. They're supplying the research. And that's what these kids, they grow up learning. So we're going to have to, it's an ethical question. Do we take the money and, that's going to become your future job, and then you publish your thesis and then that company is going to hire you, or do we look further ahead and come up with alternative technology that these people can make a living at? Why don't we have solar in Texas?
We do,
but not enough. The whole lobbyists of the petroleum industry have pushed solar down, that every single house in this state should have solar panels.
And we are the largest producer of
1%.
Wind-based. They get really large. Everybody talks about it.
Well, and the state of Texas now, you can apply for a grant. They'll help pay for a certain amount of money for you to have solar installed on your house.
It's been so slow. When we lived here, we had solar. I called Encore and I said, look, I'm considering putting solar on, and I was told that there's a buyback program. And oh yeah, we don't do that for your county.
Yeah.
And but we did get the 15% rebate. We tried to get solar in Idaho. They will raise your electric costs so you can sell back the amount that they raised it for. Like,
so it's break even, maybe.
Breaks even. Like, what's the point? And there's no rebate. So you just fork out $20,000-$30,000, and then maybe in 20-30 years it might break even.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
I'm really about Houston, the
Very
city of
jaded.
Houston. I don't think people been down there by the water. Smokestacks is pouring pollution into the air.
you mean Carcinogen Coast? Oh yeah, we know that.
Virginian coast. There, I remember that one. And anyway, Houston had that. The mayor and everybody got together and all that protest, stop all this pollution.
Mhm.
So they went to Austin. Austin has 7 Republican Supreme Court guys that said basically that the oil companies run the state, so forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
They don't even try to hide it anymore. It's just right out in the open.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I mean,
all of the money.
all the people that are on the Texas Railroad Commission, which runs all of that stuff anyway, they all work for the oil companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
man,
Well,
this is hopeless.
Institutes have their funding removed if they publish anything negative. We know that, except for those who do not accept Montana funding. And this is that Stephanie Seneff that I had mentioned before. She's an MIT researcher, and she has done some great studies. And it was her quote that at this rate in 2025,
You said 1 in 2.
1 in 2 children will be autistic. And so we're looking at a multifaceted problem that's mushrooming.
So what are they going to do when every other kid's all screwed up?
That's the question, because we're going to see it in our lifetime. That's the scary part. So this, no safety testing.
That hexavalent.
Yep, that's the same idea. These are we've already mentioned this. The 2 lawsuits
Billions.
that have been won. So we know that there's harm. People are dying. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. He's called the Health Ranger. He started testing glyphosate on just regular food products. For instance, Cheerios is known to have the most amount of glyphosate among all the cereals. But yeah, he's actually had his life threatened.
Is that the guy that did the presentation? This is him coming to you from.
Oh, well, that's Jeff Smith.
Jeff Smith.
Yeah. Oh, and this is, again,
This is Idaho, right?
Yes, and we put
8 out
this.
of 10 of our neighbors have cancer. God almighty.
So, I mean, my dad is one of these. He passed away, but his cancer had metastasized, but life was cut short because they wanted to biopsy his kidney and they nicked an artery and they let him bleed out. So that's kind of what started. That's the reason we ended up in Idaho, trying to keep his ranch going. And then we realized all these folks here had, kind of boom, boom, boom since we've been there.
So you wrote this? 8 of our neighbors?
Yeah, this is our street. And they haven't connected the dots. There's an actual cancer cluster here. And now I guess I have to add
Ken.
Ken.
Tell them to watch the movie. What's your name?
Aaron Brockovich.
They should watch that movie.
One of the guys that lives up there was from California. I brought up her name. He got mad. Oh, that's a bunch of lies. I worked for PG&E. They're a good company. So what do you do with stiff-necked, hard-headed people that don't want to hear you?
That's why, Penny, we gave up around here. Nobody wants to hear anything. Nobody wants to hear anything.
Now this guy, Dr. Don Huber, he's known in the organization Acres, and he teaches sustainable farming for farmers, how they can farm differently, that they don't need GMOs, they don't need Roundup, they can have healthier crops. And he had to go underground. I actually know he lives in Boise, Idaho, and a friend of his told me that he's monitoring the runoff in the Boise area and finding that there's birth defects of microencephaly around those areas.
Nampa? That's an area of Boise?
Yes. Now, Napa is in California. Nampa is in Boise. So they sound the same.
But they both have wine.
Yeah, they both grow a lot of wine. But do you remember in South America, they had that Zika virus outbreak, and they're talking about all the microencephaly.
The CDC was supposed to be involved in.
Yeah, but all that was an elaborate cutoff because they had just been spraying Roundup for years in that area. So
knocking back the jungle.
Just sit here.
And then they'll give
Can I
it the zip
cry?
buttons.
Why have I just sit here?
And Teresa, you're a bummer.
Well, we're going to have to brainstorm a solution to all this.